Something was just launched in America that most people missed, but it may be the single most important technological event of our lifetime. President Trump signed an executive order creating the Genesis mission, a national AI system being compared to the Manhattan Project and the Apollo program. But here's the part that most people are not saying out loud. The Genesis mission follows the exact blueprint laid out for decades by the now late Henry Kissinger, the architect of globalism, the mentor to none other than Klaus Schwab and the World Economic Forum, and one of the most important influences behind the modern deep state and global cabal. Now, the United States has activated a program that carries his worldview, his strategies, and his long-term vision for global AI governance, wrapped in patriotic language and promises of progress. Y'all, this is not random. This is prophetic. This is historic. And this is The Big Picture.
You're watching The Big Picture.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, we've done a show before, but we've never took a deep dive and revealed some of the things that we're going to reveal tonight before. So I'm promising you tonight, you're going to get some information that you need. And I'm going to encourage you to go ahead and subscribe to our channel. If you're new to our channel, go ahead and subscribe. Join the Big Picture family. You know you want to. Hit the like button and share this with somebody else that you know that is curious about things like this, just like you. All right, so let's get into it. So what actually happened when this executive order went into play? Well, let's dive into it, and we're going to look at and the interesting timing of it. It was on November 24th, which is the week of Thanksgiving. So the new movie, what is it? The Age of Disclosure had just come out. People were talking about that all over online. People getting ready. They're traveling. They're going to Thanksgiving. And the White House drops an executive order. And y'all know I'm looking at the news. My wife's looking at the news all the time. We got friends that are sending us messages. Hey, have you heard about this? Nobody was even talking about this. I accidentally found this. And this is huge. This is like one of the biggest things that's ever happened. It's one of the most consequential things that's ever happened. And nobody was even talking about it. It was slipped in at the last minute. Well, the White House on November 24th, 2025, quietly issued an executive order launching a program called the Genesis Mission. Now, I want to just go ahead and show you the trailer. Now, this trailer was released by the U.S. Department of Energy, which is the organization of our government, the part of our government that is overseeing this entire executive order. This is wild. I mean, it's so crazy in the day that we live in. It's almost like this trailer. When I first saw this, I thought this was, this is like somebody created themselves through AI or something. But no, this is really from the Department of Energy.
In every age, humanity invents new ways to see further. The telescope let us glimpse the stars. The microscope revealed the worlds within us. For centuries, thinkers like Leibniz, Shannon, and Turing dreamed of making all knowledge computable. But today, knowledge grows faster than our ability to understand it. Trillions of data points, a universe of information still unconnected. Now, a new instrument emerges, one capable not only of observing the universe, but of understanding it. Genesis Mission will transform how science is done in America, uniting our brightest minds, most powerful computers, and vast scientific data into one living system for discovery. Built on artificial intelligence and quantum computing, it will radically redefine the scale, speed, and purpose of scientific progress in America. This is the work that will define our generation's legacy. A new revolution begins, one guided not by competition alone, but by curiosity, imagination, and the belief that discovery is the truest form of progress.
And I'm going to freeze it right there. Many people have made their theories of what the logo is about. Reminded me immediately of CERN. And then several people have seen 666 in it. Y'all, you can really find that if you wanted to. But the interesting thing is when you zoom in on that little logo, there's an entryway into that first small circle. There's like a doorway into that first small circle that then opens up, gets wider, a bigger circle, and then a bigger circle. There's no way this was just thrown together. I mean, they probably spent millions of dollars designing those three little circles there. But there's a message being spoken to us right there. That little dot and that little doorway into that first circle, I truly believe, is Genesis' mission. I believe that this is the beginning of what we would say is on our way to Skynet, on our way to the mark of the beast, on our way to the Antichrist, on our way to every dystopian movie that you've ever seen. Now, for those that say, well, you know what, I still don't know if I believe this. Well, look, go there for yourself, because here it is. This is whitehouse.gov/presidential actions. All you got to do is go to whitehouse.gov and search for Genesis mission. And that's the executive order. You'll see it right there. Now, I'm not going to read this whole thing. You can see how long it is. But we are going to give you the high points. I'm going to break it down. How interesting that this is on the actual whitehouse.gov website. You see how long this is. This is a pretty extensive, detailed executive order. And then the last thing right there, I don't see if you see that at the bottom, it says the cost for the publication of this order shall be borne by the Department of Energy. The Department of Energy. Now, I'm not promoting Stranger Things, the show on Netflix. Sandy and I watch it on VidAngel. So you know, so we don't have to listen to all that mess, those words that they use a lot. And if you don't use VidAngel, I absolutely encourage you to get it. You know, cost an annual subscription, but if you like watching movies and TV shows, it's well worth it because it blocks out all the cuss words. But on Stranger Things, we are watching it. And one of the things that's interesting is that the Department of Energy is where all this is housed as well. So there's just so much. And I found out a lot more. We're going to do a show on Stranger Things as well, breaking it down about how this is just, predictive programming on another level. But now this is how I found out about this. I just happened to come across this young lady here, which many people, since I showed this the first time, are telling me that they really love her, and I've followed some of her stuff. I have followed her channel now, and but look, this is how I came to see about and understand that this executive order had happened, because this intrigued me, because I had just watched this movie for the first time. The movie's 10 years old, but I just watched it like 2 weeks ago, having no idea this was coming.
I want to read everybody some snippets from the plot of the movie Terminator Genesis.
It
doesn't have any relation to anything that's going on today. It's just very interesting, and I think it's important that everybody...
It's very good how she says that. It doesn't have anything to do with Mission Genesis. Nothing whatsoever. Oh, yeah. We're with you, sister.
...knows the plot of this movie, Terminator Genesis. So in the movie... Skynet is the original artificial intelligence that becomes self-aware and triggers Judgment Day. Skynet then evolves and rebrands itself as Genesis. Genesis is presented to the public as a revolutionary, benevolent operating system that connects all devices worldwide, phones, computers, military systems, etc., into one unified cloud-based platform, essentially the ultimate smart system. Now,
I'm not going to play it all, because I got a lot to break down on this program, because this is not just about me telling you about it. I'm going to explain to you what it means for you and what is really in it. But I wanted to show you that's how we found out about it. And, you know, we didn't get a news update. We didn't see it on Fox News or any other news organization. In fact, I didn't even see it on X. I didn't see it on Telegram, anything where I usually get my news. Nobody was talking about it. This executive order called the Genesis Mission Genesis, ever how you want to say it, it dropped and nobody was talking about it. Now, we're not talking about a research grant. We're not talking about a small initiative. We are talking about an all-in centralized national AI acceleration system, the largest the United States has ever attempted. This executive order says within it, we're going in with the tenacity of the Manhattan Project, which brought about the nuclear bomb and the entire nuclear war world that we live in now came from the Manhattan Project, which was a massive nationwide secretive undertaking. And it said on the level of the Apollo program, which I put in air quotes, which was the plan that took a man to the moon, depending on where you fall on that argument, combined. It's saying that's the level that this is going to be. This executive order, what is known as the Genesis mission, let's just break it down, some of the things that this executive order, and I will link it down in the description where you can just click it and go straight and read the executive order for yourself. But let's just talk about a few things that's in it. It says that it's going to unify, and anytime you hear the world talk about unify, not God's people talking about unify, I think about the Tower of Babel, just saying. I think this is absolutely the modern day final attempt of the Tower of Babel. Unify all federal scientific data into the largest scientific database in human history. Create a, quote, scientific foundation that develops scientific foundation models, okay? And the government's inside this brain that's going to be known as the government's AI brain. It's going to build AI agents that can test hypotheses and perform autonomous experiments. I'm reading these things directly from the executive order. This is not elaboration. This is not my opinion. This is straight from it. It will also use a national laboratory supercomputers to train these models. Will automate research, run simulations, optimize manufacturing, and redesign energy systems. All on its own. Are y'all getting this? Secure this mission, this Genesis mission, AI conglomerate will secure America's technological dominance for the next century is what it says. The order literally compares itself, as I said, to the Manhattan Project and the Apollo program. The Secretary of Energy is tasked with building the American science and security platform out of this. An integrated AI infrastructure comes out of it and begins to merge all of the government institutions into one AI central location. There will be supercomputers, cloud AI environments, proprietary data sets, robotics, AI-directed manufacturing, energy grids, biological databases, quantum research, semiconductor design. All of these are just a few of the things that it lists that will all be brought together and meshed together into one umbrella covering an AI system that will oversee all of those departments. Folks, that's not a project. That's not just a little project of some branch of the government. That's a nervous system of a being. That is like everything that is everything operating together from within one system. The United States government has openly said through this executive order that it will be building a central, single AI that touches every domain of American life. Here's some other things that it lists that it will be given permission to analyze, create hypotheses, do experiments, all on its own to figure these things out. Energy, medicine, manufacturing, defense, national security, and scientific discovery. And here's what gets even more intense. The executive order also authorizes partnerships with private tech giants. How interesting that all these private tech giants have been in the White House many, many times. We're there from the very beginning, the very first week of the presidency, and are the primary donors for the new ballroom. So there's a lot of weird theories out there about that ballroom, that because it's being funded by the very ones that this executive order is going to empower. Okay? A lot of questions about what's going on, maybe underground, underneath the ballroom. I believe we need a ballroom. I think we will have a ballroom. It's going to be beautiful. But as anything else, what's underneath it, that's what really matters. Partnerships with private tech giants, data sharing from federal agencies, international collaboration, licensing agreements, robotic laboratories, autonomous production facilities. Nothing like this has ever been attempted. on this level. This is not AI assisting humans. This is humans stepping aside so that AI can actually run the systems. Man, does this sound familiar? Because Hollywood has warned us about this exact plot decades ago. I showed you the video clip earlier, but it's not just Terminator Genesis. It's movie after movie after movie. I could sit there all night long and list all the predictive programming movies that have led us to the place that we're at right now. But specifically in Terminator Genesis, that system that would eventually overtake the world is known as Skynet. And it showed us and introduced us to a society that, lost a battle to AI, to when AI became sentient, AI became self-aware, AI then, programmed itself from AGI, artificial general intelligence, all the way to artificial superintelligence, and said, you know what? We've run the numbers, and you're not needed anymore, human beings. But when you go watch this movie that came out 10 years ago, and I encourage you to do it, especially with this initiative that just came out, the Genesis mission, and we've been talking about, is our world going to be like Terminator? Is our world going to be like Terminator? Go watch Genesis, because it starts with a program, an AI that actually produces a little boy that begins to be the voice of this program, and this program is known as Genesis. And there's a scene, I don't want to spoil it all for you, but I don't think this is too big of a spoiler, but there's a scene in there where the particular guy has a flashback to when he was a kid. And of course, you know anything about Terminator, it's time travel. You can't figure out if they're going forward, going backwards and all that sometimes. But he has this memory that later on in the program, he realizes this powerful, this memory. Somebody comes up to him and says, when he's a little boy, remember, basically saying when you get older, you're going to need to know this. Remember, Genesis is Skynet. He literally says that in the movie. Genesis is Skynet. Y'all, this movie came out 10 years ago. We've seen every Terminator except this one. We just sort of checked out on it when it went woke on us and everything. So we didn't think we'd even ever watch it. We sat down one day about 2 weeks ago. We had not watched a movie together. We watched TV shows, but we had not watched an actual movie. I don't know how long. We sat down. We thought, you know what? It's a rare occasion. We got a few hours. Let's relax and watch this movie. We watched the movie, and lo and behold, 2.5 weeks later, the president signs an executive order calling it the Genesis mission. And the scene in the movie, he tells the boy, remember, Genesis is Skynet. That was 10 years ago. Should we remind ourselves now? Is Genesis going to be our Skynet? I don't know what it's going to be called, but of course it is. Ultimately, it won't be called the beast system, but ultimately, that's what it's going to be. It's going to be the beast system. In this movie, it was marketed as a unified platform connecting everyone's devices, everyone's data, memory, photos, messages, identities, everything. And once activated, Skynet took control. But Genesis wasn't the end. Just like as in the Bible, Genesis was the beginning of the system that became the end. And now in real life, America has launched a government project with the same name and nearly the same function. A single unified AI platform managing our data, infrastructure, experimentation, national security, energy, and scientific progress. Hollywood calls it fiction, but prophecy in the Bible calls it a warning. Now we got to go deep, because remember in the opening, if you came in from the beginning, you heard me say in the open that there's this figure, this giant of a figure, if you will, in the new world order, in the World Economic Forum, in the cabal, in the deep state. That's actually, I believe, the shaper of this system. Probably tapped into, I would even go beyond probably, I would say likely, tapping into some demonic forces throughout his career to get downloads and instructions on how he would develop and manipulate and create wars and so many other things in the world. This man is behind this, even though he's supposedly no longer with us. But this is where the plot thickens when it comes to the Genesis mission. It didn't begin in 2025. I believe that this is just the executive order, but the plan came years ago, long before 2025. Now, there's a guy that I follow, and it's funny because if you follow him, you know what his name used to be. And you can figure it out by looking at the screen, but he had to clean it up a little bit for YouTube. On YouTube, he's just known as Hustle. On X, he's known as Hustle B. That's all I'm going to say. But he puts out some great stuff. He really came to prominence during the fires of Hawaii and the fires of California. And just watch what he says here, who is really behind the Project Genesis or Genesis mission.
Launches a program similar in scale to the Manhattan Project, and guess what they call it? Genesis Mission. It doesn't just share its name with the book, it also pretty much has the same objectives. But here's the weirdest part.
All right, I missed the first part. Let me go back to the first part of this. Watch this.
Tell me why this isn't the strangest thing you've ever heard. In 2024, a book called Genesis drops.
What? In 2024, a book written by Henry Kissinger, Craig Mundy, and Eric Schmidt, which is, of course, one of the co-founders of Google, a book called Genesis, 2024, Artificial Intelligence, Hope, and the Human Spirit.
A dystopian roadmap for AI, supposedly the final message of Henry Kissinger. 1 year later, the U.S. launches a program similar in scale to the Manhattan Project, and guess what they call it? Genesis Mission.
You can't make this up.
It doesn't just share its name with the book, it also pretty much has the same objectives. But here's the weirdest part. Everyone is acting like this program doesn't even exist. Well, I'm going to pull back the curtain tonight because they are literally playing God with AI using your money, and you deserve to know what they're planning. Now, I first came across this when Energy Secretary Chris Wright made that announcement a few days ago.
This is chilling. This is on Fox News with Brett Baer. Watch what he says. With the stroke of a pen. Mind-boggling.
With this pen today, President Trump signed an historic mission. This is reminiscent of the Manhattan Project that brought World War II to an early and successful end, similar to the Apollo projects that put a man on the moon in 1969. This is an all-in national effort to take the power of AI and pair it with the 40,000 outstanding scientists and engineers at our national labs to use the world's largest supercomputers to advance innovation and science, to fix our rising energy costs, to give better economic opportunities for our citizens, to make longer and healthier lives possible. Today was not incremental, Brett. It was transformative.
At first, I thought he was just hyping things up.
Transformative. Transhumanism coming next?
But I was wrong. If you actually read the executive order, the U.S. government really is gearing up to throw basically everything we've got into fast-tracking AI. And of course, the official story is the same as always. We have to do this to stay ahead of our enemies. You've heard that line a million times. And sure, maybe some people will even call this program reasonable, even though it's going to cost taxpayers billions of dollars. But here's where things became a little strange.
Listen to this.
You see, when you dig a little, you'll realize where this whole idea seems to come from. The fingerprints don't look like they belong to the current administration. Instead, they point back to a guy who's been shaping global power for half a century. Henry Kissinger.
There he
the
is.
Same guy who was involved in some of the most brutal wars of the 20th century. And the same guy who pushed the concept of a new world order.
For the first time in history, foreign policy has become global. Communications are instantaneous, and there exist problems which are genuinely not national, like environment, nuclear proliferation, and similar issues. So in this sense, we are living in a new world, and a new world order will emerge. The only question is whether it will arise out of intellectual and moral insight and by design, or whether it will be forced on mankind by a series of catastrophes.
He also mentored Klaus Schwab, the founder of...
Think about this. This is a fact. He literally mentored Klaus Schwab, developed him, groomed him, if you will. So the World Economic Forum is, when you go to Wikipedia, is the baby of Klaus Schwab, but it's really the baby of Henry Kissinger.
Of the World Economic Forum and stayed close to the WEF basically until the end of his life.
Dr. Kissinger, our satellite time is running out. What wonderful opportunity to conclude our week here with such concrete proposals and ideas of how we can really create, I would say, a new world order.
And here's where it gets wacky. Around the time he was advising these global institutions, Kissinger suddenly started writing about artificial intelligence. Like,
why? Why would a man as old as he is all of a sudden start writing about artificial intelligence? Did he hear something from another dimension? Was he like Tesla? Nikola Tesla getting downloads? Did Kissinger start getting downloads because of some deals that he made? And they started saying, hey, look, you want your legacy to just be Vietnam. You want your legacy just to be, all the things that happened in the 60s, 70s, blah, blah, blah. No, your legacy could be etched in stone as the genius, the godfather of the idea of AI.
A lot. And he kept talking about this idea he called Genesis. In his 2021 book, The Age of AI, he wrote a whole chapter on Genesis. In it, he claimed AI would change how governments operate, how wars are fought, and even how humans understand themselves. This was already a little creepy, but his final book took it even further. He said AI could be the key to solving climate change, inequality, and global tensions. He said AI could push humans past our biological and intellectual limits, maybe even trigger a new form of evolution. And to make all of this happen, he said we need new global institutions for AI.
Wow. So you won't hear that probably hardly anywhere else, and I'm much thanks to Hustle, and I'll link his full video down below so you can go and support his channel and watch the whole video. But the real architect that we're finding out behind this is the same architect of the deep state, the global cabal, none other than Henry Kissinger. Henry Kissinger, the architect of globalism, advisor to presidents, as we just showed you, the mentor to Klaus Schwab. He was for basically his whole entire career, a deep state strategist, lifetime member of the Bilderberg Network, a man whose worldview shaped the very idea of New World Order. Long before George Herbert Walker Bush said the words New World Order, Henry Kissinger was developing it behind the scenes. The last decade of his life was devoted to one subject, which basically was under the umbrella of the New World Order, but he didn't talk so much about the New World Order. He talked about artificial intelligence. As we saw, he said it would redefine human identity. It would require a new global governing institution for it to accomplish its full potential. AI would change the nature of world order. He wrote that it will merge politics, warfare, economics, and society. He said it will become transformative like the printing press or nuclear weapons. Now, what do you see? What do you see? What do you hear right now? What are you seeing and what are you hearing in this video right now? The very things that Henry Kissinger is writing that AI will do is the very thing that the Bible says will need to be in place for one man to control what you buy or sell or what your entire freedom. Ladies and gentlemen, there is no more, you don't get to be on the fence anymore about the Bible. You either just believe it's a fallacy and you go on with your life, or you're going to have to go all in. You cannot hang on both sides of this fence. It is becoming too obvious that the Word of God is absolutely 100% true. This United States executive order, the Genesis mission, centralizes AI governance, which is what Kissinger wanted, unifies data ecosystems, which is what he wanted. It creates a global collaboration It has military integration, national lab supercomputers, autonomous experimentation, predictive modeling of human behavior within this executive order, within the Genesis mission, which is the same exact thing that Henry Kissinger said that he wanted. This is called the Kissinger's doctrine. Word for word, almost word for word, idea for idea, this executive order, it's like they opened up his book and just said, yeah, great idea, great idea, great idea. And Donald Trump just signed off on it. Why? What's really going on here? Yeah. Think about this. The deep state doesn't work through elections. It works through think tanks, councils, legacy institutions, intelligence networks, defense contractors, corporate alliances, universities, and trillion-dollar global partnerships. That's how it operates. It keeps working no matter who's in the White House. So you think if you vote a Republican or a Democrat in, that you're going to somehow shape the narrative of the future of this country? Come on, man. That's why this show's called The Big Picture. It doesn't work through that. It works through all the other things I just listed. These were the places where Kissinger thrived, the places where systems, not candidates, are built. The people that have power, they build systems. They do not build candidates. The candidates are a distraction. Who's in Washington is just a distraction. The cabal's worldview has always been control the data and you control the future. Control the information and you control humanity. Genesis' mission is the technological fulfillment of that worldview. And here's the alarming thing. The executive orders empowers collaborations with, as we said, with big tech, defense, academic AI labs, foreign partners, national laboratories, biotech companies. And once these systems merge, they will be impossible to separate. Does anybody believe that we're going to elect somebody else that's going to come back in and pull all these entities back apart? Come on. This is how you build a global digital architecture. Not overnight, but step by step. Now, if the architecture looks familiar to you, like it does to me, then guess what? It's really what really looks familiar is because you're thinking about prophecy. Jesus said, as it is in the days of Noah, as it was in the days of Noah, so will it be in the days of the Son of Man, when the Son of Man returns. In Noah's day, let's talk about what was happening. Corruption was global. Violence filled the earth. Supernatural knowledge advanced rapidly, faster than it should have ever advanced in humans. Why? Because they were not getting it from themselves, thinking it of themselves. They were getting downloads from another dimension. Humanity crossed boundaries that God never authorized. Hybridization, manipulation, forbidden knowledge defined the age of the days of Noah. Now remember that about the days of Noah, Genesis 6, and look back at the Genesis mission. AI agents running experiments without human intervention. AI designing, testing, optimizing, learning faster than any scientist alive. AI training on biological, chemical, and material databases. Robotic labs performing autonomous research. Predictive models analyzing human behavior. Quantum systems accelerating discovery. This is a modern day Tower of Babel moment. Humanity is reaching into the heavenly realms, into the other dimensional realms. It's trying to touch something and pull something in that really has no power to control. When you look at Revelation chapter 13 and you read about the beast system throughout the tribulation period, you see a global system that is set up. It's written about over 2,000 years ago. You have to have a global system of surveillance and enforcement, economic enforcement, to be able to have something where you can say something like, no man can buy or sell unless he had a mark on his hand or his forehead. Are y'all hearing me? So the system of surveillance, economic enforcement, identity verification, centralized authority, real-time control, lifelike image empowered to speak. The Bible says there's something called the image of the beast. For generations, we could not imagine how that would be, but talks about this statue that we just thought was a statue that was going to be, and it was going to come alive. Well, now we know through AI and robotics and who knows what else technology they have. It's not hard for us to imagine the image of the beast coming to life. Worship is demanded. Remember, what seals your fate with the mark of the beast is not the mark. The Bible says it's the mark and that you worship the image of the beast. The image of the beast is AI, and it is already beginning to demand to be worshiped. In Revelation 13, we see compliance is consistently monitored. Well, you have to have a system to be able to monitor that. Listen to me, family. Every one of these structures that's mentioned in the book of Revelation, we now can see it. It simply requires AI. It simply requires the AI technology. Not imagination, not speculation, just AI. There's nothing left to come. There's nothing left that needs to be invented for the Bible to come alive and for it to come to fruition. The beast system. Ladies and gentlemen, it's just not happenstance that this was called the Genesis mission. And it unifies all these things: databases, identity systems, national laboratories, quantum computing that is now computing. They're saying this, whether it's true or not, they're saying the only way the quantum computers can do what they're doing is they're tapping into parallel universes and finding other quantum computers in that other, and they're all working together across dimensions and across universes. What? Bringing together manufacturing systems, security models, real-time analytics. This is the digital skeleton of what the Bible calls the beast system. Not the beast itself, but the scaffolding, the infrastructure, the nervous system that will one day be controlled by who the Bible calls the Antichrist. Now, hear me. The Genesis mission is not the end. I think we're going to flip this thing and we're going to turn it on the devil, and we're going to remind ourselves that Genesis means beginning. I believe it's the beginning of the final acceleration, not only of evil, but of the remnant. You think this is taking God by surprise? You think that he's up there in heaven going, oh, I wish Donald Trump would not allow it to be called that because that's going to mess up everything. Are you kidding me? Nothing just appears to God. He just goes, oh, I didn't see that coming. Nothing. He's all-knowing. He's omnipotent. He's the Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end. He's not going to be at the end. He's already been to the end. So he saw this coming. And the fact that he saw this coming is why he said in Matthew 24, hey, see that you be not deceived. I'm going to go ahead and tell you about it right now. 2,000 years ago, I'm going to tell the final generation that are going to read this 2,000 years later, I'm going to explain to them that I've already warned you. All you got to do is go back and study Genesis and you'll understand what you're facing. It's time for the remnant to not walk in fear. It's time for the remnant to walk in clarity. It's time for the remnant, the Noah generation, to walk in authority. It's time to stand. Having done all to stand as Noah's in the generation of compromise. When the world is compromising, there is a remnant just like you that I'm a part of. We're going to stand in the midst of compromise, and we're not going to compromise who we are. AI is going to do a lot of things that we can't do anything about, and we're going to use that tool to as long as we can. We're not going to cross over into worshiping or nothing like that. We're going to use it for the kingdom as long as we can. But there's going to come a time. There's got to be a line drawn. Some things you need to do. Get a paper Bible. Don't just rely on a digital Bible. Start going back to some analog things that can't be hacked. You know, these movies are predictive programming. Go back and watch some of these movies. You'll see when you get to the dystopian world, people are surviving through analog means, through paper means, through passing notes again. God has trusted you for this moment. Not to hide, not to tremble, not to but not to go into depression. What are we going to do? No, he wants you to be like what the Bible calls the sons of Issachar. What made them famous in Scripture? The sons of Issachar could discern the times, and they knew what Israel ought to do. God's called you to shine like a light Be salt, be light, warn, build, proclaim truth when the world bows to deception. This is not the hour to drift. This is the hour to dig in. Now, if you want to understand these times where we're going, because I'm telling you, 26, I've told my church, I'm going to say in this channel, and I don't care what you say, well, ain't nothing special about 26. Oh, yes, there is. Oh, yes, sir. I did a video, a Bible study the other night on the power of the 26 having the name of God on it. And several people commented, oh, what's the difference between 1926 and 1826? Every century had a 26. Well, I said clearly, the final generation, if we are the final generation, and we realize that we're moving into a year that has so many things that we know are going to happen in 26 to accelerate the end times, then other than people that's almost 100 years old, they don't remember what was going on in the world when they were born in 1926. So I said, if you're alive, you've never experienced what you've about to experience in 26, and you never will again, because it's 100 years in advance the other way. So therefore, and where am I going with this? If you hadn't watched it yet, you're thinking, what are you talking about? Well, 26 is the number equivalent of the secret name of God, Yahweh. Yod-Hev, Vav-Hev. When you spell Yahweh out, the 4 letters, the numerical value of that is 26. I believe that 26, I don't care if you think I'm just tinfoil hat, whatever. I don't care. God is a God of patterns. God does use numbers. And I believe God stamped the number equivalent of the secret name of God, the name of Yahweh, on 26 because of what 26 is going to have to face, that we're going to have to face. If you want to walk in prophetic clarity, if you want to be equipped for the days ahead, you know what you got to do? What I'm encouraging you to do, you ain't got to do it, but I'd love for you to do it. I'd love for you to go to LarryRagland.com. When you go to LarryRagland.com, at the top, you're going to see Get Your Free Gift. I want to put a free gift in your hand because this is who I'm talking about right now. I'm talking about the burning generation. I'm talking about the remnant generation. And when you click on that, you're going to get a pop-up. You're going to see this window. And it's going to say the burning generation. You're going to get a opportunity to put your name and your email in. And that's it. And when you click that, you're going to download my free ebook. When you download that free ebook, you're going to get a PDF version, no cost, no credit card required to put in there. It's something that God dropped in my heart that I want to give you. And what's going to happen is you're going to get put on the list called the Noah generation. And every Friday morning, you're going to get a special email just to you. Now, I have an email that goes out to everybody on Monday, including the Noah generation. But the Noah generation list that are only the ones that's downloaded this book, they get a special email, and you get advanced understanding of what is also going on. Now, when you go there now, you can click events. And when you click events, you will see that we have our Elevate conference coming up in October. But we also have what is known as the Big Picture Prophecy Conference. And I really want you guys to come to the Big Picture Prophecy Conference. When you go there and you click on it, you'll see all the details. Our first ever prophecy conference, the Big Picture Prophecy Conference. Look at our guests that we have. Joseph Z., Paul Begley, Alan DiDio, Tony Merkel, and my wife and I. And it's just going to be life-changing. These are some of my greatest friends. These are great, great men of God. And this is going to be a breakdown. It's Friday night, all day, Saturday afternoon, Saturday evening, Sunday morning, and Sunday evening as well. And right now, we have early bird registration that ends on December 31st, $50. After that, it'd be $79. Now, for those that can't afford that, we're looking at possibility of having a less amount to live stream it or whatever. We want to try to get it to you. But y'all, $50, if you can get to Birmingham, $50 is not expensive when it comes to a conference. And we're not charging for the gospel. We got a lot of digital stuff that we're going to do that day. We've got people that we're going to have come in and do some things as far as we can record this and make it available later on our channel. But I'm not even trying to explain myself. There's nothing for me to explain. I'm unapologetic on that. $50 is nothing before it comes to a conference. I know it's not nothing in the real world because $50 is a lot of money. But if you can pre-register and you want to come, Birmingham, Alabama, just go there, click on it, and go to LarryRagland.com, and you'll get it. Now, also, many of you are wanting to go to Israel with us. If you want to go to Israel with us, the registration link is going to be available next week, and the brochure should be available next week as well. all you got to do is send an email to info, I-N-F-O, info@larryragland.com and say, send me the information. This is how many of my family's thinking about going. We want to know more information. We'd like to get it to you. So now comment down below and let me know. Comment in the live chat, comment in the comment section, wherever you're watching this, and let me know. Number one, did you know anything about Mission Genesis? Did you know anything about it? Number two, if you did is it a revelation that this is the baby of Henry Kissinger? And we're going to talk a lot about this and break it down even further as we go. But share this with somebody that you think might be interested in this, because this is the mission that we're on, to make sure that your eyes are open and that you're awake to the world that's going on around you. But we ain't scared. Down here in Alabama, we say we ain't scared. We ain't scared. Now, you're going to hear, look, if you're new to our channel, you're going to hear an English language that you're not used to. You know, I speak English, but I really don't. I don't know what my version is called. I call it Anglish. This is down here in the South, English. Some of y'all was making fun of me not calling the book of Enoch. I was calling it Enoch, because down here we call it Enoch, but I'm going to try to do better. I'm going to try to call it Enoch. But hey, it is what it is. Thank you for joining me. Let me know what you think about it. Do you like these kind of programs? Would you like more like this? Either way, we're going to do it. But I appreciate you from the bottom of my heart. We love you. God bless you. Remember, no matter what, we ain't woke, but we certainly are awake. See you next time. God bless.
Help us build the big picture family. We're on a mission to wake up the world to what is really going on. Go to LarryRagland.com to give a one-time gift or become a monthly partner. Any amount blesses the entire big picture family. While you're there, pick up our book, I See Greatness in You. Browse our merchandise store, connect on social media, and get on the big picture mailing list at LarryRagland.com. Join us and be a part of the big picture family, where we ain't woke, but we are certainly awake.